Today I'll introduce you to 11 gods of war from 11 different mythologies. I found it interesting to see how the god of war was seen in the great mythologies of mankind. So let's begin. Buluc Chaptan, Mayan mythology. In the Mayan religion, Buluc Chaptan, sometimes called God F, was the god of sudden death and sacrifice. In the Mayan codex, he can be recognized by the black tattoo around his left eye that descends to his cheek. Buluc Chaptan embodied war, violent death, and human sacrifice. He is often depicted in the company of Apuk, the god of death, who sets the houses on fire with a torch and pierces people with his spear. The idea of the god of war with that of the god of violent death and human sacrifice seems to be combined in the tradition of sacrificing noble prisoners of war. People prayed to him for success in war, to avoid sudden death, and just on general principles, because you don't want to be on his bad side. Ares, Greek mythology. Ares is the Greek god of war, or rather the representation of the unpleasant aspects of war. These are violence, and one might even say bloodlust. He is almost opposite to his sister Athena, who is represented as logical and strategic. Known for his impulsive and unrelenting thirst for blood, Ares was feared by men and Greek deities. Among all the major Greek gods and goddesses on Mount Olympus, Ares was the most despised. The warrior god was always upset and burning with rage. Considering the fact that Ares had anything but love in his heart, it was quite uncharacteristic of him to successfully fall in love with Aphrodite, the goddess of love. But it happened. Huitzilopochtli, Aztec mythology. According to Aztec mythology, Huitzilopochtli was the god of the sun. He also served as the god of war. In some traditions, he was also one of the world's creators. His name, which means resuscitated warrior of the south, came from the Aztec belief that the spirits of warriors killed in battle followed the sun through the sky for 4 years. This resulted in Huitzilopochtli often being depicted as a blue or green coloured hummingbird, or as a warrior whose armour and helmet were made of hummingbird features. But Aztecs also believed dead warriors were reincarnated as hummingbirds. But in Aztec mythology, nothing remains tiny and pretty like a hummingbird. Like most of the gods from Aztec mythology, he needed to be fed. So, to feed their god, the people of the sun offered up their own in the form of human sacrifice. Montu, Egyptian mythology. In ancient Egypt, there were many gods associated with war. Montu was a prominent one among them. He was depicted as a man with a falcon's head crowned with 2 blue feathers and a solar disc. His hands could hold multiple objects, such as an axe, a spear, bows and arrows. It could also be represented as 4 heads guarding the cardinal points. Sometimes he was represented with the head of an ox or 2 horns. It was believed that Montu gives Pharaoh victory over enemies. Egypt's greatest general kings called themselves mighty bulls, the sons of Montu. Mentuhotep was the name given to several pharaohs, which means Montu is satisfied. Tyr, Norse mythology. Tyr is the ancient god of war in Norse mythology. He is the son of the god Odin and the goddess Frigg. Tyr is the bravest and most daring of the gods of Scandinavian mythology. He is famous for his bravery since he was willing to sacrifice his hand to the jaws of Fenrir, allowing the Norse gods to capture and bind Fenrir until Ragnarok. He is known as the one who established law and order in the community. The warriors worshipped Tyr because it was said that he would offer them protection during the war and ensure their victory. Svetovid, Slavic mythology. Svetovid is the Slavic deity of war, fertility and abundance. Sometimes referred to as Beli, Svetovid is often depicted with a sword or bow in one hand and a drinking horn in the other. Other important symbols included the white horse, which were kept in his temple and used in divination. A statue portraying the god shows him with 4 heads, each one looking in a separate direction, a symbolic representation of the 4 directions of the compass, and also perhaps the 4 seasons of the year. Camulus, Celtic mythology. Camulus was a Romano-Celtic god of war. The Romans associated Camulus with Mars, the Roman god of war. He is depicted in art wearing either an oaken crown or a set of ram's horns, and coins bearing the image of a boar connect him with that beast. He is a god of war and battle, a protector. He is the god who sets the boundaries of the civilized world and protects them by force of arms. Not much text can be found on this fierce ancient Celtic god, but he was said to be a god of unbridled destruction and victory on the battlefield, an unconquerable force, a warrior figure so powerful that no Gaulish fighter ever dared enter combat without seeking his aid first. Guan Yu, Chinese mythology. Guan Yu, also known as Guandi, is different from other gods of war from other mythologies. That is because he started life as a mortal vendor of soya and became a Chinese military general serving under the warlord Liao Bei during the late Eastern Han dynasty of China. Along with Zhang Fei, he shared a brotherly relationship with Liao Bei and accompanied him on most of his early exploits. Guan Yu's life was lionized and his achievements glorified to such an extent after his death that he was deified during the Sui dynasty as the god of war. Ku, Hawaiian mythology. In Hawaiian mythology, Ku is one of the 4 great gods, along with Lono, Kanalau, and Cain. They cause light to shine upon the world. They are uncreated gods who have existed from eternity. Ku is worshipped under many names, including Ku Ka Ilimoku, which means the Caesar of land. Rituals included human sacrifice, which was not part of the worship of the other gods in Hawaiian mythology. Ku really caught my attention because he is the Hawaiian god of war, but at the same time is not the type of war god who seeks violence, like Ares for example from the Greek pantheon. Ku has practically saved the world twice by himself and come out unscathed. Ku was also considered the god of the forest and rain, god of husbandry, god of fishing, and god of sorcery. Ishtar, Sumerian mythology. Inanna was the Sumerian goddess of war and combat, but at the same time she had different godly roles as the goddess of beauty, desire, fertility, justice, and political power. She was later worshipped by the Akkadians, Babylonians, and Assyrians under the name of Ishtar. Known as the Queen of Heaven, she was the patron goddess of the Inanna temple at the city of Uruk, which was her main cult centre. She was associated with the planet Venus, and her most prominent symbols included the lion and the 8-pointed star. Hachiman, Japanese mythology. Hachiman is the Shinto god of war. The name means god of 8 banners, referring to the 8 heavenly banners that signalled the birth of the divine Emperor Ojin. Hachiman is considered the tutelary god of warriors. He acts as the divine protector of Japan, the Japanese people, and the imperial house, while he is the patron god to the Minamoto clan and to most samurai and warriors of Japanese culture. He holds the number 2 spot for having the most shrines dedicated to him in Japan. My question to you is, what god did you find the most interesting among these gods of war? Who particularly caught your attention and why? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe to the channel by hitting the notification bell to be notified when new videos arrive. Yours truly, Mythos the Historian.